Morning delays on the Blue Line right now. O'Hare-bound trains are standing at Harlem due to a sick customer. The Edens Expressway looks good. We see no delays right now on the Kennedy, but there is fog and mist. And with temperatures right around freezing, do watch for slick spots. Be aware that ramps and bridges may especially be slippery this morning. No delays to report on the Eisenhower. I-55 has mild roadwork slowdowns. Channahon area. Northbound River Road to Blodgett, traffic slow. Southbound Arsenal to River Road. The ride is okay. I-57 at the Bishopport as well. Tollways look good. No issues in northwest Indiana. There are again hundreds of flight cancellations. That's traffic. I'm Chip Talamonte on AM 560 The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next in our 1 hour heating and air conditioning weather center. Sun and clouds and 56 today. 34 with some dense fog in the area. Next news at 7. Breaking news as it happens. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Listen to AM 560, The Answer, online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, on TuneIn, iHeart, and radio.com. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Senator Josh Hawley has called for an international investigation into China's cover-up of the spread of the COVID-19. Follows on the back of much propaganda emanating from China and being picked up from other enemies of America like Iran, in rejecting even the olive branch that President Trump extended to help those countries, even though they're mortal enemies, with controlling the spread of their disease, of the disease in their country. And that certainly is a problem that Iran has, just as China had. We don't know the truth about Russia. Is it true that Russia has fewer cases than Luxembourg, as a CNN story reported over the weekend? Maybe, but it's always difficult to believe the official party line from authoritarian states and communist dictators, isn't it? For more on the topic, we're pleased to be joined by Michael Yon. He's an author, columnist, war correspondent, Green Beret. He was trying to get a bit more detailed information about the state of circumstances in China, but he was denied entry into Hong Kong, much at the same time as journalists from the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times are being kicked out of China, as we've discussed on this show. Michael Yon, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hello from Chiang Mai, Thailand. I was denied entry into my last trip into Hong Kong on February 5th. I had been there for about 6 months. Actually last year I just got my vaccinations to head back to India, and then the insurgency kicked up in Hong Kong. So I jumped on the flight and went straight to Hong Kong, and I spent 6 months in that. And it was, I wasn't really there just reporting on it. To be honest, I was kind of helping it. And I've been writing about China for years. I've been to China many times. I've written 3 books on Chinese information war. My third one just came out in Japan 3 weeks ago. So when this virus started kicking off, the patient zero may have been November 17th. That's unclear. But when it started kicking off, I started paying attention to it in December. And then finally in January, that was when I said, oh, this is big. So I started to actually publish about it in January, and started telling people to stock up, actually, because it could be serious. And then I took a break from Hong Kong and went to my office here in Chiang Mai, Thailand. And when I flew back to Hong Kong, they kicked me right out.
Not a fan of your reporting, probably to no surprise.
It shouldn't be.
So, I expect not. So what do you make of the official party line on Wuhan, and that, there was a day last week, there was no new cases, and things are resuming to normalcy in China, and they've beaten COVID-19.
Oh, it's a complete lie. That's what they do, is they lie. Even back in January, I was saying eventually they'll blame this on the United States and they'll blame it on Japan. Now, that might seem like, foretelling the future, but it's not. I study China. I know how they operate. I used to hunt alligators when I was a kid growing up in Florida, right? Mm-hmm. I know how alligators behave. They have very predictable behaviors, and so does the Chinese Communist Party. They will always blame Japan, and they will always blame the United States, and always try to split people. For instance, between Germany and Italy right now, it's clear that China is trying to get Italians angry at Germans for, a German giving a case to Italians, right? So I mean, that's how China operates. I just don't believe them. They lie.
So the video and the pictures of those 14 field hospitals that are now empty, that's all manufactured bull jive?
No, I'm not saying that they're lying about the disease or anything like that. That's clearly true. Now, but when it comes to their actual numbers, they're never accurate with anything. China, if let's put it this way, if CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, is telling the truth about something, it's always in service to. They have no mooring to truth. They will lie about anything and everything under the sun. I just don't believe them.
So what do you not believe the 81,000 cases that were reported? Do you not believe the number of deaths reported? Do you not believe that it's subsided? Which of that do you believe and not believe?
I believe the cases will be much, much higher. And this is based on, and even back in January, I was saying they'll probably understate it by at least a factor of 10. And I'm not just picking that from the sky, because for years I've noticed that they will generally overstate or understate things by about a factor of 10. And I've actually seen in the last about month and a half, a doctor, I saw him on a television show, actually a Chinese doctor, saying they always overstate or understate by a factor of 10. He came to the same conclusion. But now, whether or not they put a lid on it for now, I don't know. I mean, that's unclear because they're kicking out reporters.
Yeah, to the timing of kicking out those reporters, that seems to suggest maybe they're not so interested in anybody doing a post-mortem on their handling of the viral outbreak or the numbers they've reported. Is that your supposition as well?
Or it could kick back on again. If you listen to the infectious disease experts, they'll tell you, I mean, you can put a lid on it by forcing isolation or getting people to be compliant, which Chinese often are not compliant. And I'm talking about Chinese on the mainland. I'm not talking about Hong Kongers or Taiwanese or Singaporeans. That's a different world. But you can force the R naught lower. The infectious disease experts will say that all day long. But then if you take the lid off of it and people go back to work, it can just resurge. And so that's what many infectious disease experts are worried about now. But of course, they've got more than one. There's the public health issue, but then there's also the economy. As you know, there's more angles to this triangle than just public health, and they all play in together. And so it's a complex dance.
What's life like there in Thailand?
Very good right now. I believe within probably the next 18 hours, I'm going to guess they're going to declare a state of emergency. Here, there's been so far 934 cases, and 107 new ones were reported today and 106 yesterday. But here in Chiang Mai, there's not been any huge shopping in the stores. I just went and looked again today. Although when I go, I've got a great mask and gloves and that sort of thing. But certainly down in Bangkok, which is about 500 miles from me, many people have already released their employees and they've gone back to Laos and Cambodia, Myanmar, and that sort of thing. So life is changing here in Thailand, but it's not a state of emergency yet.
Much has been made of South Korea and Singapore, as well as Taiwan, how they handled the outbreak and the lessons to be gleaned from how they handled the outbreak. And is there anything with respect to the conventional wisdom, the reporting on their handling of the outbreak in those three countries that is incomplete? And if not, what are the top one or two takeaways from the handling of the outbreak by those countries?
Oh, huge takeaways are jumping right on it. Like when you have a fire in your kitchen, you don't wait to do anything about it. They jumped right on it. They were very aggressive with their testing, which of course we have not been. But they were very aggressive with their testing and very aggressive with isolation of cases and quarantines and that sort of thing. So that clearly has been successful. Now, when it comes to Hong Kong, where I just spent 6 months until they denied me entry on the last entry. The government itself of Hong Kong has not been stellar on the reactions, but the people, the Hong Konger people, have a lot of cultural discipline. And so they were wearing a lot of masks. They still, if you mention SARS in, say, Taiwan, or I've been to all these countries many times, Taiwan, Singapore, Hong Kong, if you mention SARS, that's a very scary thing to them. For Americans, mostly, we don't pay much attention to it. But over in Hong Kong, for instance, if you say SARS, their eyes light up.
Sure.
It was very serious. And so this is SARS too. So as soon as this started to become clear that it was a thing, everybody's wearing masks. So, I mean, almost everybody's wearing masks. So that almost certain, and they were exercising social discipline insofar as distancing and that sort of thing, which reduced the spread.
And what is
it's going to hit though? Hong Kong's going to get hit. I can see it. You can see the numbers are coming up right now. And even today, when I was talking with some journalists and other friends there, they can see that people's behavior is changing. They realize it's going to get them.
As someone who's done so much reporting there in the Far East and Southeast Asia, what's your interpretation of President Xi taking more and more draconian measures to close down Chinese society? Is that a sign of weakness? Is that a sign that maybe the Communist Party isn't in trouble, but President Xi, as the head of it, is?
Oh, they're the CCP or PRC, People's Republic of China, they're not as stable as they like to make them appear. And certainly with what's just happened with the devastation to the economy, and keeping in mind, this is a slow-moving, their economy just got hit. First of all, the trade, the tariffs and whatnot were very damaging for the Chinese economy. And then comes this. And they also had swine flu and army worms, which a lot of people may have forgotten about. Those were actually very serious deals as well. And now comes this disease, which has shut down much of their industry. And now their markets across Europe and also United States and Canada and other places. So in addition to the direct devastation within China, now their markets are really slowing down. As you can see, you'll see it in Chicago very soon.
He is Michael Yon, author, columnist, war correspondent, Green Beret. Michael Yon Online Magazine is where you can catch his writings from Thailand for now and all along the Southeast Asia corridor. Michael Yon, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Anytime, Dan. Bye, Amy.
Bye. Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
If you're talking about it, Dan and Amy are talking about it. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The Lou Dobbs Financial Report is brought to you by Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Visit signaturebank.bank for your commercial banking needs.
I'm Lou Dobbs. Unemployment checks may be delayed in some states. American distilleries retooling to make hand sanitizer. And will the biggest market boom in almost a century continue today? Those stories next.
The coronavirus is wreaking havoc here in the United States and across the globe. The stock market is plummeting. Sports leagues are suspending their seasons. Schools are sending students home, and the entire U.S. economy has been destabilized. Many experts say this is just the beginning. This is a devastating risk if you're heavy in stocks with no safeguard. Wise investors know to hedge against stock market collapse by utilizing physical precious metals.